I wanted to talk a little bit about the barrier that stands between us and understanding, which I tend to think of as the invisible barrier between ourselves and the understanding of ourselves. So many people have told me over the years that they could never have been conned, scammed, taken in, led into a cult group, a dangerous cult group. But my experience is that the brightest and the best are often seduced or recruited into authoritarian relationships, into authoritarian groups, largely because they want to ease their own suffering or because they want to ease the suffering of others. I think that there is this notion of our own invulnerability, the notion that we are not gullible, is the real obstacle to understanding. People know that other people are influenced by advertisements, but they're not. They know they're beyond that kind of thing. And at the heart of this is what some psychologists are now calling the myside bias, what has been known for some decades as the confirmation bias. Now, I much prefer myside bias because it explains itself, that we tend to agree with what we already believe and disagree with what we don't believe. So it makes it very hard to actually have an open mind, to sit back and think about things when we're immediately responding to them. And I'm no different to anybody else. If somebody challenges me, I'm very likely to defend against that challenge. But I do hope, later on to be able to think about what's been said and digest it. I think it's very, very, very crucially important to understand this bias that we have towards information that we already believe and agree with. Let me give an example of that from history. There was a man called Semmelweis who worked out, he was a doctor, and he worked out that because the other doctors were going and doing post-mortems, there were dissections of human bodies, and then not washing their hands afterwards, and then going and delivering babies, that there was a terrible plague of childbed fever, whereby many women died in childbirth. And Semmelweis worked out that something was being transferred and that people needed to wash their hands. Doctors needed to wash their hands. He was laughed at and ridiculed because he came up against the confirmation bias of people who were absolutely sure that there was no such thing as a germ, as a bacterium. Indeed, the founder of osteopathy derided the idea that there's any such thing as a germ. Now we've seen the little germs underneath the microscope, we know they're there, we know what diseases they cause. We have to be careful. This confirmation bias we have closes us to new information. So I would suggest just taking a breath before you respond to an idea, realizing that often we just take something on because we believe there's authority in it. So when I talk to people who are, let's say, militant atheists, and I myself am an agnostic, a man of no fixed belief, when I talk to militant atheists, they're absolutely sure the concept of God is wrong. And so I say, well, how did the universe come about? And they say, oh, it was the Big Bang. And I say, and can you explain that to me? And I've yet to meet anyone who has actually been through all of mathematics and the proofs. They'll say, background microwave radiation or something like that. But they believe it in the same way that other people believe scriptures. It's not to say that that's inconsistent, because it does fit in with the scientific paradigm. The collapse of 11 dimensions, the membrane idea that 11 dimensions collapsed into the 4 that we have now, unless you bring time and space together, in which case we probably only have 3 dimensions left. That moment is neither a proof of the existence or God is not. as Stephen Hawking's pointed out, in fact, it tends more towards the idea that there is creation, and it's an idea that was accepted first by a pope in the 1950s, and that was proposed first by a priest called Georges Lemaître. So it's kind of confusing that it's accepted by the Catholics and it's put forward as a proof that theism doesn't work. This is just one example of a confirmation bias where it's really best to talk things through, to think things through, to think about the other point of view, and to question every now and then, just to take out one of your cherished beliefs and question it. So that's what I have to say about the myside bias or confirmation bias today. Thank you so much.